So for those joining us, welcome. Thank you very much. I'm Kyle Myers. I'm a senior solution architect with Guide Technologies, focused primarily on the Cloud Suite industrial side, also dabbling a little bit into the XA with Tim Rancourt and a couple others. So today we're joined by QBuild. They are a premier Infor partner product, supporting not only CSI, but also XA. And we're gonna walk through one of their packages called ECx Manager. The reason why I joined in today, though, is I've actually been an engineering manager. I've walked through the engineering change process. It has a lot going on with it, no matter what organization you're in, whether it be rev control, process control, notifications, workflows, so much we have to take care of. So that's why this is a great solution for us to talk about today. Before we get too far into it, though, also introduce who else is here. So we have Erica. She is with QBuild. She is the project manager with that. And also my friend Dasha, who will do quite a bit of presenting today. She is the senior solution engineer. So let's also take care of some housekeeping before we get going. All lines are muted in this case. The three of us will have talking a little bit here and there. We are recording it though, so if you need to go back and check on something, that's you will be able to share that. If you do have questions though, there is a question section in the experience today. So if you drop them there, we'll be monitoring that. We'll answer them as we can, or when time allows, we will bring those up. Okay, moving on. Tip, I talked about myself a little bit with that one. If you have any questions at all from the the session today, definitely reach out to me. My email address is on there. The other great contact is Holly Mason. She is our senior account executive for the Cloud Suite industrial side. But she can also help. Holly actually herself has XA experience as well. So we're a great team over here working with QBuild, a long-standing relationship. All right, I believe Erica, it is your turn now.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for the introduction. Great to meet everyone today. So here you can see an agenda of what we'll be going through today. So first I'll give you a quick introduction of QBuild, who we are, what ECx Manager is. And at that point, I'll pass it over to Dasha to do an ECx Manager demonstration, how it's integrating with Infor. We'll go through the benefits together, outline some of our other QBuild products, and also take a look at our testimonials and see what our customers are saying about ECx Manager. To quickly introduce Dasha and I, myself, I'm Erica Jeffrio. I'm a project manager here at QBuild. So I mainly focus on assisting our customers to get their QBuild product implemented. So worked with many customers over the last several years to get customers implemented with our products. We also have Dasha joining us. She is a senior solutions engineer with us at QBuild. So as I mentioned, she'll be leading our ECx Manager discussion and demonstration for today's webinar. So going into who we are at QBuild. So at QBuild, we reduce engineering costs by making engineers more productive. So we've been specializing in CAD and ERP integration for over 20 years now. We have over 2,000 manufacturing industry customers worldwide. And we also pride ourselves in our partnerships. You know, as Kyle mentioned, we work very closely with Guide, with Infor. We have over 50 ERP and engineering design partners around the world. So with that, we have our first poll question. So let's set that up here. So how many of you have heard about us at QBuild before? Sounds like we haven't met each other before. Great to meet you. So I'll do an introduction then of where we stand. So we support customers from around the world, as I mentioned, across many time zones. Our global team, it allows us to deliver localized support with really fast response times. So We work with manufacturers across industries and regions, but we're headquartered in Toronto, Canada. So we have several offices you can see on the map here. We have an office in the United States, UK, Germany, Japan, and that also allows us to expand our support to several different languages, English, Spanish, French, German, as you can see in the top here. So we offer many different language support options. And as I mentioned before, we're partnered with over 50 engineering design solution partners. You can see here, we have a very wide range of CAD, PDM, PLM partners, including SolidWorks, Autodesk, Siemens, and many more. Why choose QBuild? Our main focus is to allow engineers to spend time on designing and connecting with engineers into the rest of the business, which enables clear, cross-department communication, and overall just making life easier for our engineering and manufacturing departments. So with QBuild, you'll see seamless engineering to ERP integration, reduced errors and rework. We have scalable solutions that will grow with you as well. We offer faster engineering to production workflow, increased visibility for your teams, and most importantly, we are trusted by manufacturers worldwide for our engineering solutions. Now, many of our team members come from engineering, IT, or manufacturing backgrounds. We don't force customers to change how they work. We adapt to their reality. So this mindset drives how we design, implement, and support our solutions. Our customers, so they play a big role in shaping our products. We work very closely during implementation. That's where I would be working with our customers. We continue to adapt as the processes evolve. This is why many of our customers stay with QBuild for years and years. Every manufacturer's workflow is different, and we consider that and we design for that. QBuild solutions are configured to match how your teams already work, and we help the customers to adapt the software, not the other way around. Now, our goal is for customers to feel supported at every stage, from implementation to troubleshooting to enhancements. We always stay involved. We really pride ourselves in our success, finding long-term customer satisfaction and retention. So here at QBuild, we have a whole suite of products that we offer. Our main focus today, of course, is on ECx Manager, but please keep in mind that we have many other products that we offer to help different engineering departments. So you might know us or have heard of us from our software called CADlink, which is integrating between your CAD or PDM system and your Infor ERP system. CADlink can also integrate with ECx Manager. And if you want to learn more about this, you can reach out to us for a live demonstration. We'd be happy to help schedule that for you. Next, we will hand it off to Dasha, who's going to be doing a live demonstration of ECx Manager. So I'll pass it over to her.
Perfect. Thank you, Erica. So before we jump into the demonstration of ECx Manager, what I'd like to do is to get everyone introduced to what ECx Manager is, as well as walk through a few definitions that I'll be utilizing throughout the demo, and also walk through the workflow as well of what ECx Manager will do for you. So ECx Manager is a web-based software that allows you to initiate, approve, notify, and track engineering change requests, ECR, engineering change orders, ECO, and engineering change notices, ECN. And just like Erica mentioned, ECx Manager can work with CADlink, but of course can also work without it. If it does work, if you do have CADlink as well, then ECx Manager will sit between CADlink and Infor to assist with that change control process. Now, ECx Manager is also the tool that used by everybody in the company that would be included in engineering change management process. So would you be in engineering, purchasing, sales, production, customer support? If you are part of the engineering process, you will be involved and you will have ECx Manager credentials for yourself. Now, what is very common for our customers And the reason for their coming to us would be a couple of physical paper or Excel documents, worksheets that they're using for that engineering change management process. And with all of those current processes, it is firstly very easy to lose track of the data, right? If it's a physical paper that has the changes, requested changes on it, losing that paper is very, very simple, right? If it's an Excel document, somebody can forget about it, someone can not save or misplace it, anything like that. So that is one of the biggest issues that we will be resolving with ECx Manager. On top of that, it is also has no visibility to know who has the particular form, who is currently working on it, where is it in approval process, who signed off on it. There's no way to see it outside of having to go search for that, either physical document or document or email itself. It is also very easy to lose any relevant document information. So what if we have spoken to a customer and there is some very important notes for it? What if there is a red line drawing? Anything like that is very easily misplaced. We are looking at a process without any directed software for the approval. It is also basically impossible to track any legacy information. So looking at any particular product, you won't know what forms or what requests have been made, what changes have been done by engineering, where we are. It's very, very hard to see it and look at a bigger picture once the forms have been completed. And putting that all together, it's difficult to assess the impact of the particular changes on engineering, from engineering into production. We don't know what this change will affect for inventory components. We don't know what we need to scrap, what we need to purchase. It's very, very hard to easily see that information. And with that, what we're going to do now is run our second poll. So please take a second to answer that as well. I'll be starting it right now. And the question is very simple to know what is your current engineering change management process. So I'll give it a minute for you to answer, and we'll continue with our presentation. We'll share the poll with you, as this is 100% of the attendees are using Excel or Google Sheet or Word document for that approval process. So you're definitely in the right place for this demonstration then. Very good. Now let's talk about the benefits that I'll be showcasing through what ECx Manager will do for you. First of all, we'll be eliminating any of that paper trail process, those Word documents, Excels, as they're impossible to track. So that's going to be our first thing that we're going to do. We'll also help you keep track of all of the reports, not only the ones that are open, where the tasks are, who has approved it, who have signed on it. We're going to help you track all of that information, including any of the forms that have already been completed or maybe rejected or canceled. We're also going to be streamlining communication between the departments. As I mentioned at the very, very beginning, ECx Manager is used by anyone who is part of this process. So if you're in sales, if you're in engineering, if you're on a shop floor, you will have access to ECx Manager to know what is the most up-to-date data and what is everyone working on and tasks, et cetera, et cetera. Not just with ECx Manager, but with any of our products, our main goal is to free up the time it takes on ERP clerical work or manual data entry. And by removing that manual tasks, we'll be reducing the cost that come up from that of individuals typing information in instead of actually working on the enhancements or the new products or jobs. Okay. With that being said, let's talk about a few definitions that I'll be using throughout the demo portion of the webinar. The first definition I'll be using is ECx, which is a word we coined here at QBuild. It's just one word to describe ECR, ECO, and ECN forms. And that is also why our software is called ECx Manager, because it follows all three of those forms. Now, looking at the forms separately, we first have an ECR form, which is a form that is usually created by anyone in a company who's looking for a change. That starts at the first step is the ECR. Once the team reviews the ECR form and says that, yes, this is indeed the change that needs to be completed, we jump in the ECO phase, which is engineering change order form, which is a form that is done within the engineering department to make sure that everyone knows what they need to do to make this request happen. And then once the engineering work is completed, we jump into an ECN form, which is a form that starts off in the engineering department to notify the rest of the company of the changes that they are looking to make. So this is the step where we inform inventory to purchase additional components. We talk to a shop floor to make sure that they set up the machines accordingly, et cetera, et cetera. So that happens at the ECN step. Now, with all of those three forms, to get them from one step to the next, there's going to be two different roles of individuals. The first role will be a doc controller role. So that is going to be a person or a group of people who are going to be the first eyes on any of the forms. So they will first receive the ECR, EC, or ECN form. Their first goal is to make sure that everything that needs to be on a form is on it. And once they confirm that, they will be the one creating the workflow and saying what we need to do to get this form approved. So this includes the workflow as well as the task for each individual. And then once they submit that over, we jump into the workflow team, which is once again a person or a group or a workflow that gets each of the forms, completes the task that is assigned to them, and approves or of course rejects each of the forms as needed. Okay, so that is it for the definitions. Now let's talk about the flows of the forms flow separately for each of the forms. So each form, ECR, ECR, ECN, will start with a creation. So different members of the team will go into ECx Manager and create that starting form. Once it is created and they added all of the necessary information, they will be able to submit that form to the doc controller for review. Now, doc controller, as I mentioned, will review the form, make sure that everything is on it, and then assign the workflows and the task to each individual on a workflow. Once done, they will submit it for approval. They will then each review the form, approve, complete the task, and approve or reject the form as needed. And this law applies to all ECR, ECR, ECN forms, but I do want to note here that the way that a workflow approval looks like can be very different, not only based on each form, but also from form to form itself. So one ECR workflow doesn't have to look like the next one. They can all be very different, and I'll walk you through how that looks like later today on the demo portion. Good, now let's put everything together. Let's say we have a request for a change. We're going to start with an ECR form, and we're going to create the form. Once it is approved, we jump in ECO stage when the actual work is being done. So somebody creates an ECO. All of the engineering information is updated, so we update the model, create new parts, anything that's needed here within the engineering department. Once that work is completed, we will approve the form. Then once the form is approved, we'll start the ECN process, we'll create it, and once it is fully completed, we are now saying that this new BOM that has been requested, has been completed in engineering, is now fully ready to go live into production. So here, upon the ECN approval step, our very, very, very last step is to send all of that new BOM information into Infor. So that is going to be the very, very last step of now saying that everybody is ready to take this live. We're ready to start producing it. So we're going to send it over into Infor. Okay, one more thing I like to point out here on this graph is this is not a strict process that we need you to follow. This is a process that you can do within ECx Manager, but this is not, one and all rule. You can start at any step, you can end at any step, you can skip a step. So some of our customers maybe don't want to start on ECR, they'll jump directly into ECO if the change is coming from engineering. Not a problem, you can do so. Some customer might want to skip ECO step if that's something they already do in the PDM system or PLM system. Absolutely not a problem, you can do so as well. So keep in mind, this is not a strict process that we need you to follow. We will work with you to see what is the best process for you. Okay. And with that being said, we are now going to jump directly into the demo. I'm going to share a different screen now and walk you through the story. There you go. So here is our story. This is a device that is being used to read information that is printed on a wire. Basically, a wire goes through the machine and the value appears on the monitor. Pretty simple. Let's say as an as an account manager, I've spoken to my customer who's using this currently, and they have reported to me that there is an issue. They told me that the way that the wire goes through the machine, it generates a lot of vibration, so the value on a monitor doesn't appear very well, right? You can't really read it, which is of course is an issue and something that needs to be resolved by us. So as an account manager, I would create an ECR in ECx Manager, and then it will go through approval process to see if we want to make that change or not. So that's what we're going to be looking at now. What I'm going to do first is open up the ECx Manager. So what you're seeing right now is the dashboard of ECx Manager, and this is the location where you as a user will be able to see all of the forms that are related to you. You can see ECR, ECR, ECN dashboard, as well as the work task dashboard to see what tasks you need to do for the day. And of course, this will look very different from user to user based on what they have information on. Now, what I'm going to do now is look up our form that we would like to take a look at directly from our history on one of the reports. And what you're looking at right now is started and fully completed ECR form. The very first thing that we see is the header of the form that shows us the why we're creating this form. So you can see the number, status, created day, and created by directly here, which is all, of course, generated automatically, not something you need to type out. But the first thing that you will need to type out is the reason for change. And this is just a short and sweet explanation of why we are making this form, what is the reason for us for creating this ECR. This is something that could be very short and sweet. A lot of our customers utilize keywords here because this is also something that you can filter on later as well. So if you want to add the name of the customer who reported this issue, or just direct keyword of the issue, or a product line, et cetera, you can do so directly here and search for that later as needed. Now, next we have ECR type, which is what is going to determine what dock controller will be responsible for the form. And you can have, as I mentioned, as many dock controllers as you like, all split up as you need to, but the ECR type will determine who is going to be the one responsible. Okay. Now, going to the body of the form here, you can see the main information of why we're creating this form. First, we can see the affected components, and this is the very first location where we're connecting to Infor. So here, as an account manager, you're able to search up Infor system and find any of the components that are needed to be part of the ECR form. Would it be one component, like in my case here? Would it be many components? That is not a problem as well. You can have as many affected components under one ECR as you like. Once you have populated the affected components, you now need to populate additional documentation. So under this tab, you can directly choose documents from the existing from your current machine to find Excel, PDF, images, any other documents that will support your case. So any of those relevant documentation that I talked about will be able to be populated directly here. On top of that, if we need to add some additional notes, you also have an option for that right over here with a big text field for you to just type out as much as you need. Based on my knowledge, there's no character limit here, so there's definitely a lot of information that can be populated. Now, that is it for the first step of the creation of the ECR form. I did skip the workflow tab. I'll show it to you on the latest step of our process. But additional form that I'd like to show you here is something that is done during the approval process itself. Let's say we're deep into getting the ECR approved, but somebody has a question. Somebody needs some additional information from a customer, or we need to do some additional research, anything like that. Well, we want to make sure that all of that communication happens directly on the form itself, not on a separate meeting, not on a separate email, anything like that. We want to make sure that everything is easily accessible to everyone. So if anyone else has that question, it would be answered. That is why we have this ECR comment tab that allows you to have that internal communication. In my particular case, I have one comment in like a forum format where you can tag an individual and connect with them directly through here. Once the individual is tagged, they will get an email notification saying there's a new form with a particular comment waiting for your answer. So they'll be able to access it directly from the email link and navigate directly here. And of course, access and or have the additional comments as needed. And you can also see that we can also attach pictures there as well to have that process easier. And once again, that is done for not only streamlining of the communication between the departments and between everyone in the company, but also for auditing purposes as well. So if something needs to be addressed, it could be addressed directly on a form. Okay. So that is it for the ECR form. What we're going to do next is look into an ECN form. So we're going to go from start to finish of the ECN process. I am skipping ECO form for today. As I mentioned, you can go through that. You can skip a form if you like. So for today, we're going to skip it just for the sake of time. I'll go right over here and create an ECN. And you see it will look very similar to what we have seen before. The header is the same, but their body has a little bit of changes that we'll take a look at. The first thing that I see that is different is this relevant ECO or ECR field. And this is the field that allows me to choose what, why we're creating this form. What is the relationship between ECR, ECO, and ECN? So I can simply choose that ECR we just looked into. And as soon as I've done so, you'll notice that the reason for change has been auto-populated. But on top of that, documents and notes will also be populated. So you don't have to start from fresh. We will connect the forms together so you can go from one to the next without having to retype any information or re-edit, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, you can still have a way to edit it if you like, or delete it and start from scratch if you like, but we want to make sure that we show that relationship. Okay, so as soon as we have connected the form, what we can do now is set up the body of the form. And the very first thing that we have here is the way for us to search the top or the affected assemblies. So I'm going to search for our top level that we have taken a look at and load it directly from Infor. Now, once again, another way for us to see that communication between our ECx Manager and Infor. As soon as I have confirmed that, yes, this is indeed the form that we want to, or the BOM, excuse me, that we want to edit, we can add it to the ECN form. And then now we can start doing the edits to say what has changed from what we now sell with our first revision to what we have now updated during the ECO process. And that actually leads me to back into my design here. So this is what we have as our first revision 000. This is what caused us the issue that was reported by the account manager. But now during the ECO process, the design engineers have decided that to correct the issue, all we have to do is to add this additional guide to guide the wire through. So very, very simple change, but this is what that ECN is going to be regarding. Now back into the ECx Manager, we can now see that previous revision 000. And what I can do now as a creator of the ECN and a design engineer, just to choose a different revision to match what we have in engineering 000 here. I can also add additional components just like that to find our guide right here. And as simple as that, we have now made those two changes. So we updated the revision and we have also added a new component to it as well. Now, of course, you can add additional changes. You can change, delete components, change quantities, add additional information, et cetera, all through ECx Manager, ECN BOM grid here. However, one more note here. If you are a CADLink user or if you're looking at CADLink, everything that I have done just now will actually be done for you by CADLink itself. So this is where the communication between the two softwares are coming from. With CADLink, what you'll be able to do is first launch it to see what the difference between our revision 000 versus revision 001 is. Once you have made all of the changes that are necessary in the CADLink software, like adding operations and routing, adding raw materials, adding additional components like manual parts or anything like that, you will be able to first press, or you'll be able to click Save, and first create all of the part records in Infor, one by one, then updating the existing part records in Infor directly one by one as well. But then when it comes to the BOM information, instead of sending it into the Infor side, CAD-Link will be able to send it over here under the ECN form. And as that is done, this grid that you see here will be highlighted as well, just like I've done now through the ECx Manager. So revision will be populated, the quantity will be populated automatically, and any other changes that you've made will also be populated here. Right. So once again, the softwares can work together, can work separately, but this is going to be the location where they will be communicating. Now, going lower on the grid, we now are able to see the affected or disposition information. So we now updated the BOM. We say that this is going to be the new revision, but now we need to see what that change is going to look like in the ERP side. So this is another location where ECx Manager speaks to the ERP side and sees what are our open inventory, purchase order, custom order, and job orders are for this particular affected component. We see the component here with a thumbs down right now to show us that these positions have not been assigned yet, but now on the next table, you can make that recommendation. Simply choose, let's say, inventory, and choose what this position is going to be. Use assist, rework it, etc. This whole list can be updated directly in a setting to fit what your dispositions would be. And I do want to note here that right now we are setting up a recommendation of what we think should happen. We're not yet making a task and saying that, yes, this is exactly what will happen. So the actual task of it being happening will be during the workflow stage. But here as a creator or a doc controller, we can say what we recommend to happen. Once you populate and accept all of the dispositions for inventory, purchase order, custom order, and job order, our thumbs down will become thumbs up. So we're all good to go. Now, of course, making the disposition recommendation in a demo environment is quite simple, but not so simple in real life. That is why we have the last two tabs that will show us additional information to help us make that decision. So we have a cost summary table that will show us every single cost coming from the Infor side. And we also have a where used information to show us where else this guided roller, in my case, is used on other BOMs in Infor. Okay, very good. So that is it for the creator of the ECN form. So let's say I have linked ECR to ECN. I've added the BOM. I've added dispositions. I maybe added some additional documents, notes, etc. What my next step is to submitting all of that form to the doc controller for approval. I want to do that here. And now, as a completely different user on a completely different machine, I've got a notification over my email saying there's a new form waiting for my review. I can open that form from the email, or I can open it from the dashboard right over here as well, under the ECN dashboard, in the doc control approval required tab with the form that we have just created. Now, as a doc controller, our main goal is to review the form, make sure that everything is on it, but also create the workflows and the task for each individual as well. What if, as a doc controller, I see that something is missing? Well, not a problem. I can reject or cancel the form here. By rejecting, I can type in the reason for rejection and send it back to the creator and say, actually, cannot go forward with this ECN, you're missing this particular document. Type it out, press OK, send that form to the creator. The creator will then be able to, once again, get a notification to see what the what is the reason for rejection, and then resubmit it once they correct it. Alternatively, we can cancel the ECN, and this will also require you to type in the reason for cancellation. But in this case, we're killing the process here. We're saying that no more resubmission. We're just not going to go with this. So this is also an option. But of course, ideally, our next step will be the approval from the team, and that's what we will look at next. Before I press the submit for approval button, I need to actually specify what is that approval going to look like. And that is done under this ECN workflow page, which allows you to set up that workflow as you like. So you can simply drag and drop users or user categories, which is like a group of users. We have multiple users on it, but maybe only some of them have a task assigned to them, or some of them have, or only one of them needs to have it approved. And once you drag the individuals over, all you have to do is to connect them with an arrow to say who needs to do it at what step. Just show a relationship here. You can, of course, still have users not connected to the workflow, just like this floating. That is not a problem. All that means is that this individual needs to complete the task and approve the form at any point, but they need to do it before we approve this whole form. Right. So as I mentioned before, this workflow can look very different from form to form, or however you like. You can make it very custom to each of the created forms. But of course, most often you would have a set workflow that you'll be using more often than others. So for that, we have workflow templates populated right over here. So this is the templates that are being set once, and you can take them directly in, populate it over, so you don't have to do that work multiple times. Once again, reducing that manual data entry that we strive to do. And of course, you can add as many of those templates as you like. Now, for today, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a template of, or a workflow of just us as the next step. And right here. And what we will do is now create a task that's assigned to us. So I've pulled us as the first person and the only person on the workflow. And what I can do now is to say what we should do for that particular task. Of course, this will not be a very live scenario, but this is what you can do for your process. So as soon as you have the workflow populated, you can create and assign tasks to each individual. The tasks are also something that you can include in the workflow template as well. So you don't have to type them in every time. Now, as soon as I have the task description populated, maybe estimated hours of how long this task is going to take, and also give us maybe a week to complete, I can set up the task. Okay. Now, that is it for our doc controller role. We have reviewed that everything is on it. On the form, we have created a workflow, we assigned the task. So now we're going to submit that form for approval. Now, as the person on the role workflow team, I'll get a notification saying there's a form waiting for my review. And I can, of course, once again, open it from the email or on my dashboard right over here. And my first goal here is to review the form and complete the task that has been assigned. Okay. And as soon as the what we're able to do now, excuse me, is mark the task as completed. We're going to use the pencil icon, mark the task as completed, say that we are done the task, and we're good to go. You'll see that the line will turn green to show you that the task has been completed and completed on time. If we did not meet our due date, it will turn red instead. And now, as the last step, we're going to approve the form altogether. Now, ECN is fully completed, it's all done. However, ECN is the form that has one extra step to it. Once the ECN is fully completed, we're now saying that this BOM that has been created during the ECO process, reviewed during the ECN process, is now fully ready to go into Infor. So this is where the doc controller will once again be notified of the particular form. They'll be able to open the form directly here, review it as needed, and most importantly, commit the changes to the ERP system here. So this step here is when we're saying that everybody is ready. Let's send this BOM to Infor. Okay, and that is it for our demo today. Looking in onto the questions side. I see a very good question on a Team Center end. However, I do think that this is something that would need to be addressed outside of the demo. So let us reach out to you to have that discussion on it. But outside of that, let's give it a minute for everyone to submit their questions over, and we will jump back into the presentation over here, and we're going to summarize what we have talked about. So as you've seen with ECx Manager, our main goal is to eliminate that paper trail that is currently done using the Word or Excel or Google Sheet documentation. We're going to make sure that everybody has the same forms available, they're up to date, so it's easy to see them at any point, keep track of all of the tasks that have been assigned to all of the individuals, and we always will know how far each of the form is in our approval workflow process. And then because everybody has access to that most up-to-date data, including the data coming from Infor, you'll be able to streamline the communication between everyone, and therefore freeing up all of the resources of not having to manage that Word or Google Sheet documentation. And with that being said, I'm going to pass the mic back to Erica to conclude the webinar before we jump into some questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dasha. So now that you've seen ECx Manager in action, let's talk about what this looks like for your team. So success, it's not just about a new functionality in CAD. It's about an automated data flow from where information is moving seamlessly. Let's talk about measurable results. So we're really wanting to increase accuracy and decrease cost here by eliminating any errors or reworks possible through the engineering change control process. And we're seeing faster engineering to production cycles and higher satisfaction from our customers. You're not doing this alone. We have a whole team of project managers, developers, and support team members on our team. We have years of experience working with our customers through every step of the deployment. Also, just wanted to mention, QBuild solutions, we're future-proofed. If you go to the next slide, as your production demands increase and your processes evolve, our solutions also scale and adapt with you. So we don't just change our software, we iterate with it and modernize it. So we're ensuring that your ERP version is updated in advance, your integration remains seamless and stays optimized for the long run. So, we've built a foundation of trust with over, 2,000 customers globally. So we are especially grateful to those who have shared their stories through our case studies. So we're documenting real-world value we deliver to manufacturers every day. If you visit our website, you can also have access to these case studies. Now, don't just take our word for it. We've received over 60 Google reviews and an additional 35 and growing partner marketplace reviews over the last several years. So here you can see just a few from Star Manufacturing to Motrec. Our customers view us as a really valuable partner in achieving operational excellence. So we really want to give a thank you to all the customers who have continue to make us better. Now, ECx Manager, it's often, the beginning. We see more and more of our customers looking at our greater Q Suite solutions to connect to every corner of your shop floor. Now, to speak to a couple of our other products that we offer, CADlink, as I mentioned before, and Dasha spoke to in her demonstration, ECx Manager can also be linked back to CADlink. So again, integrating your CAD or PDM system with your Infor bill of material. So this can increase efficiency as well amongst your engineers, as well as automate the process for item creation in Infor. And if you're in fabrication, NestLink automates the data flow between the engineering team and the shop floor, so ensuring that material requirements and part quantities are synchronized. This will eliminate manual data entry and provide visibility into production status directly from within your ERP. Now, I also wanted to give a shout out. We will be at the Sightline User Network Conference next week. So if you have any questions, you're of course welcome to reach out to us, either Kyle, Dasha, or I. But Kyle and I will be attending Sun next week. QBuild will be at booth 114. You can also visit our ECx Manager and Nestlink product sessions that we'll be hosting on Wednesday, March 4th.
And again, Guide's going to be here as well. So come visit me with 318. Also, we have a session on Monday afternoon talking about reimagining output management for within CSI.
We'll move on to any other questions that you may have. You can post them in the chat here, and I will pass it back to Dasha to answer the ECx Manager questions.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. Before I jump into the question, as you see, we have a few come up in our chat here. I do want to let you know that as soon as the webinar is open, there will be closing. We will be running a quick survey as well. So if you can take a second just to answer a few yes or no questions, that'd be very helpful. And yeah, diving directly into the questions. The first question we have is, does this also handle change notices to purchasing for individual parts or assembly revisions? The quick answer is yes. It can be done on the assembly or top level like I have shown today, but it can also be done on sub-assembly for or in a part level as well. So that's not a problem. It can definitely be done. And that actually leads me to the next question. The next question is, can we schedule a demo with our workflow? So the answer is yes, we can. And going back to the individual part or assembly revision question, we can definitely show you how that is done within ECx Manager with a custom demonstration from our side. Very good. Let me see if we have any more questions. Oh, with a CAD link to Solid Edge, how are revision handled? With any system, any CAD system, with CAD link, the revisions will be handled based on what is the revision on a Solid Edge or on a CAD side. So we're going to be using that as a master and setting it into the ERP side. However, there is a way to say that maybe ERP system is the master, so that can also be done directly in the settings. But yeah, we're looking at CAD link itself. The revision handling would be done in the CAD system, and then that revision is going to be what CAD link is going to be using to either send it to ECx Manager or into Infor. I hope that answered the question here. And I want to say that is it for our questions. Oh no. If somebody opened an assembly with components that have open revisions unreleased, what is displayed? That is a great question. I think we should get some more details on on the reason for this question. There shouldn't be any different on how CAD link would see an assembly with open or unreleased revisions for both CAD link or ECx Manager. So let's jump onto a call to talk about this in more detail after the webinar. I don't see any questions coming in now, but of course, team, if anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer and jump onto more of a discovery to see how either CAD link, ECx Manager, Nestlink, or any one of other products can help you in your business. But with that being said, I think we're going to conclude the webinar here. We really appreciate your time and attention, and we hope to speak with you soon. Thank you, everyone.